So welcome back, everybody. This week will be the first week that we're looking at Leif Rogell's Psychology of Project Teams. So this past week we were supposed to read the preface in chapters 1 and 2, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So the focus of this book is the psychology of project teams, specifically how you as the project manager can use this information to better facilitate good relationships within a team and to actually build a good team. Many of us spend years working alongside the same people in an operations capacity, but the teams that are pulled together for the purpose of a project are usually temporary. They are people pulled from various places within the organization because of their expertise or whatever value they can offer for that project. And the team comes together specifically to meet those project's objectives. It is likely that the people that you will work with on a project are people that you work with infrequently or that you've never met. Because of this, you won't have the same rhythm with them and the same knowledge of them that you would have with your regular coworkers. So again, this book is going to focus on those short-term project teams, people that are pulled together for the purpose of the project. So that everyone's on the same page, the first thing we have to do is define what a project means for this conversation. A project can be defined as many things, but Rogell uses something very close to PMI's definition of what a project is. The first thing is that it's unique, meaning that its outcome, its complexity, its level of effort is unique to that specific project. Next is that it's time limited. There's an expected end to the project. Next is that there is a change of state, meaning it's going from existence to non-existence, from new to improved. There's a change of state. Next is that it provides some value. Hopefully, businesses are only taking on projects that will bring about some type of value for the company or the stakeholders in general. And next is what Rogell calls the business context of the initiation, meaning that from a business standpoint, there was a reason for this project, either customer demand or regulatory requirements, etc. So people come together under this definition of a project and superficial relationships are formed. Also, within those teams that are formed, there may be informal sub-teams. For example, a whole team might consist of a project manager, a product owner, developers, testers, but within that group, there may be a small section of testers that get together to talk about things after meetings, or they might be developers that sit next to each other and have their own team that they formed within the team. Also, there will be formal and informal group roles that will form these teams. Your formal roles come with job titles and official designations and appointments to the project, right? Like project manager or developer. When we're talking about informal group roles, Rogell references the 9 informal group roles put together by Meredith Belbin. I have a link to the page about him in the description field. So let's go over those 9 informal group roles, but let's remember that a person within a team can embody one or more of these informal group roles. The first is a plant. The plant is a person, a very creative person who formulates ideas for complex situations. They're very creative, but they're introverts and difficult to communicate with. Next is the resource investigator. The resource investigators are the negotiators and the networkers. They know where all the bodies are buried. But they have a short attention span and they lose interest very quickly. Next is the coordinator. This person can organize and delegate so that things can get done on the project, but they have a direct leadership style that people really don't appreciate. Next is the shaper. This is a highly motivated, high achieving person. This is the person that's going to get things done. However, they are very pushy when it comes to their agenda and their interests. Next is the monitor evaluator. This person is very analytical and very thorough. This person will get you clean results that will very rarely result in rework. However, they don't really inspire people. Next is the team worker. This is the person on the team that is very supportive, very social, very well liked. They can smooth issues between project members. However, they're not good project managers. Next is the implementer. This person is very self-organized, very self-disciplined. They will get things done. However, they are very inflexible and they don't like to take risks. Next is the completer finisher. This type of person likes to make sure that things get done and that those things get done with a high level of quality and detail. But that attention to detail sometimes drag things out, and it takes this person a long time to get things done. Lastly is the specialist, who has indispensable knowledge vital to the project. However, this person can only contribute in a very specific area. And the key for you in putting together an effective project team would be finding a balance of those roles. There's a lot more information about each of those roles in the book, so hopefully you are taking a look at the book. But the idea that you can really put together a project team based off of these informal roles is really kind of far-fetched. You will need to be aware of these project roles, but the idea that you will know which team members or which potential team members embody these informal roles is highly unlikely. And outside of requesting specific skill sets, in my experience, you have very little control over who will be on your project team. So you really need to work with who's there. So that means looking at the project team that you have and turning them into the project team that you need. And your project will need both the formal technical roles and the informal interpersonal roles. There are a couple of choices here in the book as to how you can do that, but in my opinion, it will ultimately come to you training the team to bolster those areas where they are weak. If you have team members that are great with the customer, but they lack technical skill, or vice versa, you have to train them up to fill in those areas where they're weak. Or in both cases, the technical formal case or the interpersonal roles, the informal roles, you, as budget allows, would bring on people to fill in the gap of what's needed. So when we are talking about team members' relationships to one another, of course we have to talk about the Tuckman model. For those of you with your PMP, you should remember the Tuckman model from your studies, forming, norming, storming, and performing. But what key thing to remember about the Tuckman model is that these stages are necessary stages for the evolution of your team. What you don't want to do is approach some of the negativity that might come along with some of these stages and try to avoid them. It's a part of the process, so embrace the process. And remember that every time your project team changes, the team members change, the objectives change, you're going to have to go through this process, these stages again. So again, don't approach it with frustration. I know it's easier said than done, but it is a part of the evolution of your team. Okay, so let's review the Tuckman model again really quickly. Okay, so first is forming. Forming is the first stage, and people are feeling the excitement and anxieties of joining a new team, starting a new endeavor, and they have the customary politeness that you would accompany with strangers. You as the leader will be fielding a lot of questions about the project, about the objectives, and people will be looking to you for guidance. Here you need to begin to lay the groundwork for what will be the team's norms, in addition to the structure you provide the projects through planning and communication. Up next is storming. In storming, people are looking at the expectations the team places on them, as well as the expectations they have for their new team members. People aren't being polite anymore and are expressing frustration, and are less so seeking guidance from you, the project manager, and may also be questioning you and how and why you're doing things. Your success in this phase will depend on how well you listen, how well you keep the team focused on the objective, and how you maintain that presence of leadership. Up next is norming. The conflicts of storming brought about a common understanding, and everybody is currently satisfied with the norms that were established coming out of storming. They accept each other's weaknesses and embrace the strengths that can help the team. In addition to your duties as a project manager, you as the leader in this stage will need to keep the teams motivated. Help them realize their important contributions to the team, and help them keep communication open so that they don't de-evolve back into the storming stage. And I also think that you should be encouraging team autonomy and self-organizing as much as possible. Help the team help themselves. Lastly is the performing stage. Now, Leif states that not every team reaches the performing or high performing stage, but I feel that it should be considered a part of the team's evolution, and that the team's development should be considered incomplete without it. In this phase, the team has learned to work together, they've accepted each other and the norms and the methods for resolving conflict. The team is independent and can make decisions for themselves because they agree on and are all committed to the common goal. You are the leader and are celebrating the team and communicating the team's vision and successes to outside stakeholders. And you're helping the team resolve external issues so that they can focus on their shared goal. All right, so that was a lot, right? I told you these chapters were big. So again, we are doing 2 chapters a week. This is it for this week, and next week we'll be going over chapters 3 and 4. So I hope you're sticking with me. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week.